What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. More than likely the last episode of Marvel Future Revolution, or at the very least the penultimate. Let's jump right into it. So let's talk about this, right? We finally got it. The day is here. We finally got some communication from Marvel Studios out in Korea. And it's not good news. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. For those of us who are usually involved in the spaces of mobile gaming, you've played quite a few of them, you've engaged in quite a few of them, and more than likely you know exactly what these types of letters means. So Dev Note number 14, a year and some change after the game's launch, and this is what we got. To start, we would like to sincerely apologize for the lack of communication and delays in responding off our last update. What they should be apologizing for is the lack of communication and delays in response throughout this entire process of since the game's initial launch, because that's the truth. We have consistently, and I do mean consistently, had a problem with engagement with the developers over the course of the past couple of months. We know that you, our dedications agents, have been waiting for more news, and here goes what we've got for future operations, basically, right? They tell us the reason why they created Marvel Universe and the complexity and scale, and they want to bring you here. But then we get down to this stuff right here, the difficulties or the excuses, right? Their aim was to create a bigger game. To bring this game to life from its earliest stages required an incredible amount of teamwork, development, soft launch. We know this, right? This game supposedly was in development for as long as some, AAA titles and console PC titles are supposed to be. And we were getting a mobile, game. You had to plan out your roadmap. I've been part of plenty of program management teams, and I am a program manager, so I understand that you have to plan out this thing. So coming in a year later and telling me you don't you didn't envision this shit happening just tells me how bad it was over there. So anyways, they say they wanted to always give us a pleasant gaming environment and the best service. I have a problem with this because it kind of piggybacks onto my first statement, which was lack of communication. At every point that the team had a way to engage with the community, to talk about the issues that the community had, and for as many content creators as there were who were creating content specifically for Marvel Future Revolution, which specifically talked about the problems that the game was experiencing, they never took any of those into account. When we all complained about the monetization efforts of the game, did they really respond to those monetization efforts? No, they just kind of doubled down on them, understanding that their monetization was meant to meet the size and scope of the team and the project roadmaps, but it never seemed like those things were aligned. There was no way that they were ever going to generate the amount and sums of money that they needed, and that should have been something that should have been, part of their planning, is to be able to say, hey, you know what? There's no way we're going to get $50 for pieces of costumes, or that it's going to cost each individual player tens to $20,000s of dollars in order to level up a character, and that this is going to be a sustainable model. If you did, and that was your model, then you obviously went in with a cash grab mindset. That's just my opinion, right? But they basically say, and they boil that down into how that was broken out. Basically with the new regions and characters and stuff like that, that required them to basically create new content. They had to, it's the difference between trying to create if you try to create a Groot-like looking tree versus creating an Onslaught-like character, right? Creating a Khazar-like looking character versus creating a Blue Marvel-like character. Creating, enemies specifically to Wolverine inside the, the certain area that he would be in, versus trying to create, enemy types that would be in the Hydra Empire. Those things do require resources. They do require a team, because you're basically crafting stuff from the beginning. You're doing textures, you're doing layers, you're doing coloring, you're doing all sorts of things. So I get that. The thing that I hate about hearing this is that essentially you're eschewing the fact that we understood from the beginning that you were already reusing content that was already there for other game modes, meaning that there wasn't that much in the first place, right? Then they talk about here for adding superheroes, the additional developments of new functions for those characteristics, the backgrounds, the composition, enemies, and all those that had to be newly created, right? No, we understood those things. The problem with this was your design mentality going in, right? Like what I mean by that is that remember when we first started playing the game? When we first started out on the game, the roadmap was almost, we were geared towards you're going to develop one character, spend the life of that character. It was really hard to disperse your resources, right? Like if you wanted to be an in-game content and you wanted to keep up with the whales, keep up with the mid-tier players, be able to participate inside some of the higher levels of raid and get to the higher levels of battle challenge and so forth, what did you have to do? You couldn't divert resources from one character to another. You had to invest in that one character. And then slowly, surely over time, some place around May, I think it was, when they launched Scarlet Witch, I think it was when they started changing. They started almost pivoting. Like they wanted us to play with multitudes of characters. Nobody really wanted to play a collector game, right? Because that just wouldn't have made sense. It was just, there'd been no point in that. You could go play Marvel Future Fight for all that matter, but I don't think that's where players were, right? Players were just at a point where they were like, we're willing to accept, a 4 to 6 month window, but the problem is you've got me invested in just this one character that I've been playing for all of this time. I've just been playing Iron Man. I've just been playing Doctor Strange. I haven't had the time to use resources on other characters that I could maybe diversify my play styles and my play experiences. So I'm just engaged on this one. That was your fault. And your fault even worse because you doubled down on it in monetization in the shop. And you didn't make it so that way players could be engaged with the initial 8 to 9 characters you had. That was the problem. So looking at where we are, we have to imagine for the life of us that if they had pivoted appropriately so that way we could have invested in multitudes of characters, that would have given them longer lead times in order to create new characters and new areas going forward, because it would have been an entirely different thing if I had played with Doctor Strange from the very beginning of the game and then somehow segued into using Iron Man, or built up Spider-Man specifically for PvP in Dimension Duels, but built out Iron Man for PvP inside Dark Zone, but built out Doctor Strange for this area inside here, or focused on Captain Marvel for this area. They never created that tier flow of like, this character is better because if you use them inside special operations, that it's going to be a better play experience for you over here, and you're probably going to be able to get these significant rewards, versus if you play this character over here or these two characters in these specific play modes, they're probably the strongest, but you can play the others. They never did that, right? That's the problem, right? Like Marvel Future Fight is kind of successful in that area where they used to build out Shadowland characters, World Boss Legend kind of characters, and timeline battle type characters and ABX type characters. They were successful in being able to bring you a character where you would find a place for it. And no place in this game did you ever find a place for your character, because what they essentially did was a monetization effort that was focused around your inability to compete against these whales who were going to spend money in the thousands range, so that way you're then screwed, right? So they shot themselves in the foot with their model. Their live services, their addition of their inability to listen to player feedback and buff and debuff characters on the fly. They shot themselves on this. So they wrap up the statement in here, basically try to get you, the player, not to ask for refunds and stuff like that, and basically let you know, hey, the game's going to carry on in its current stages. Going forward, they're going to have to reduce the size and scope of previous content releases, and they're going to have to, let you continue to play the game and this thing before the doors are shuttered, which that means is more than likely, you'll have Marvel Future Fight or Marvel Future Revolution in its current stages. You will you will still get you know, the same type of events that were already there within the cycle, meaning your invasions and stuff like that will still be repeated for a time. You know, you'll have access to certain things, and I believe truly that you'll start to see some of the store items and things like that actually decrease in value and sale and stuff like that, so that way you can re-engage on them. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's probably what's going to end up coming to you anyways. You know, whether or not they take advantage of like Black Fridays and Christmas and things like that going forward, really doubtful and probably big time disingenuous. So it's really, really weird because, you know, the game had such potential that I feel was wasted on a poorly designed roadmap from the project team overall. They should have been aware and been able to calculate some of the risk of the things that they were doing. They put a lot of time and effort in diversifying Omega War, Squad Battle, Dark Zone, Dimension Duels, those type of things, so that way they can generate money from the whale mindset of doing it. But like I said to you guys at one point, I'd rather get $1 from 1 million people than to hope I can get $1 million from 10 people. That's the mindset that they were going with here, right? You know, is that, hey, I'm going to somehow within this cash shop going to earn the value of what I need to keep this game going. But it's okay if it's just, you know, it's a live service that's tailored towards the few, and that was just never going to be successful. So yeah, I don't like that. I didn't like it at all. So it is what it is. I feel bad about it overall. We'll see what happens, right? Like I said, I don't really feel like, you know, being the Debbie Downer of the game and reporting bad information. So realistically, unless something really major happens with the game, you probably won't hear anything from me. I didn't want to even, like, you know, I feel bad doing this because I haven't really played the game since the Wolverine release pretty much. I mean, I logged in and stuff like that, but that was it. So it sucks, but it is where it is. I hope you guys are still enjoying the game. Those people that are still playing, I hope that you're enjoying it. But there's other things that I want to, you know, invest my time in. Like I said, I'm playing Marvel Snap. Still playing Marvel Future Fight. I want to engage in, you know, Call of Duty. I'll get good series for that one because I'm not the best player at it, but I really do enjoy the experience. There are other games that I feel are worth my time and my attention that I'd probably have more fun bringing to you guys over the longevity of this channel. I do appreciate everyone that came on board for the Marvel Future Revolution experience, and I wish that this was going to be going longer, but clearly with the reduction in staff that they have, I don't see that as a possibility. With the game that they currently have, I don't see it as a possibility. This requires some real major things, and I'm sorry some of you guys have been, you know, getting, you know, trickled along and dragged along for the ride by, you know, promises of like Epic Games and these people possibly taking over this and that. Like, come on, bros, for real. Like, yeah, my simping was kept to a minimum, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace.